Hey Copper Nerds, let's do a deep dive into the Sheldon 71 1794 large cent. Turns out I got two of them. Let's get into it. Shout out to Preston for requesting this video. He just picked up an S-71 and asked if I'd be able to do a deep dive for him so we can learn more about his new coin. And I said, yeah, it'd be my honor. So here we are, jumping to our first head of 95. And this is my Sheldon 71. This is the one that's actually part of my collection. I picked this one up when I was down in Colorado Springs. And I was down there for the ANA and grabbed this one from Hollenbeck Coin. It was kind of a fun little memento from my trip. And this one's got a die crack between R and T. We'll talk about that a little bit later. This one has fantastic blundered edge letters. They're going to be hard to see here, but maybe I can get some close-ups. This one says 100 for a dollar leaf. So blundered edge devices are really a fun part of 1794s, as well as the lettered edge 1793s and 95s, but you mostly see it in 1794s. And in fact, I maintain the blundered edge device registry. So if you have coins with blundered edge lettering or Vine and Bars devices, excuse me, I got a little bit of a scratchy throat coming on. If you have a blundered edge device or edge letter 1793-95, let me know. We'll make sure you're in the registry. There's about 100 coins that are tracked in that registry, and it's kind of cool. Okay, getting started like we do with the Robert Powers Large Cent Attribution Guide. Sheldon 71. Calls for a die break there, I see, with that green line, but I'm not seeing one where I've got one, which was between T and Y. Is that right? Yes, it's kind of tight to the T between T and Y, and I'll show you a zoom of mine here real quick. Okay, so they're saying that the 1-7 is lower than the 9-4, which, yeah, it is. The 9-4 sits kind of high. Lower curl is head of 95 style. Yeah, which it is. This kind of tight curl is common to heads of 95, although the exact head of 95 does not actually have a curl on the Sheldon 72, which is the last variety of 1794 and has the exact head of 1795. Faint die crack, sometimes seen across the top of LIBE and Liberty and through the cap. Highlighted by the green line there. I will look forward to checking that out a little more in Chuck Heck's book when we get there, in the Die States book. As far as the reverse, double leaf under the O in of. And we've got some info on how to distinguish it from reverse II, which would have been right there, which also has a double leaf under of. You can tell that there are significantly different shapes between that and that, where they're both kind of overlapping and flat. And these are kind of V-shaped, with the top one being heavier and the bottom one sticking out from the bottom, whereas that one appears to be just stacked on top of the top. Did that make sense? I don't know. D in United and O in 1 are very low relative to the other letters. So D is low, O is low. Cool. Let's see what we have for updates in the new Powers Attribution Guide right here. If you're interested in Powers Attribution Guides, you order them from Robert Powers at eacbookusa@hotmail.com. Jumping back to Sheldon 71. There it is. Okay, we got the same photos. Oh, major updates on this one, you guys. Major updates. Look at that. That crack I was just talking about between the R and the T, like mine has. Terminal die state. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad I have that one. I'll bet you. Let's see. Oh, here we go, actually. They added die states information as well from the old to the new. So, perfect is scarce. Usually a light crack through here. Which I don't so much. Probably need a loop to see it on mine. And then additional vertical crack between R and T. See the close-up. It's another thing that Mr. Powers added was some inset close-ups of diagnostic features. So, see the close-up there? Very rare. Neat. Okay, and a common variety. Let's jump into Breen's Encyclopedia next. I always do these in the same order, or at least I have been for a long time. Maybe some of the early ones I didn't. So, Sheldon 71. Backing up. 71. Die cuts at the eye. Yeah, mine is in pretty low. Both of mine are well circulated, and this very cool diagnostic is not featured on mine. So let's get a good close-up of the die cuts through the eye. And then it also says we have a triple leaf at D right there. Let's look at that. The third lock is more delicate than on other obverses in this group, presumably meaning the heads of 95. So that little one right there. Three parallel straight cuts in the die at the eyebrow and bridge of the nose, with the middle one crossing the eye. Yeah, it's pretty neat. Date is spaced 1794. I don't know if I concur. I guess, kind of, but it doesn't really jump out to me. Die states we'll get into in heck. Morris 37, the pliqué, and some other cross references for other numbering systems. Condition census. We've got a MS-68. Holy cow. Oh, it's a Lord St. Oswald coin. That makes sense. And then we've got an MS-61 in second, and the condition census drops us down to EF-40. So these are fairly available in high grades. Next up, we've got Bill Noyes' book. We're going to look at the condition census examples of the Sheldon 71. Here we go. All right. So, S-71, small circular curl. Okay. Triple leaf under D. Got it. Numerator touches the fraction bar. The double leaf under the O and of. Short lines through the eye. L is close to the cap. Which on a head of 95 triggers you to go check and make sure it's not the NC. And 5 braided locks. Okay. About a third of the base of the T in Liberty projects just beyond the forelock up there. Curl at the lowest lock is a slightly larger circle than we see on some other heads of 95. One close to the curl, closer to the curl than the 7. 9 and 4 are high. We got that already from one of our other books, Powers, I think. And further from the border than the 1. Yeah, the 9 and 4 do sit high. Liberty is wide and well spaced. Indeed it is. Without close to the cap. 3 short lines from a die injury across the bridge of the nose to the eye. On all examples seen, there are traces of reverse wreath at the chin and the front of the neck, so that's going to be clash marks. On some traces of the word America and other parts of the reverse show plainly in the upper field on the obverse. That's interesting. We'll keep an eye out for that as we look at the condition census photos. Off-mentioned light crack right of 4 across the pole. Into the field is not a crack, but a clash mark. Lots of clash marks. No, I didn't look at the reverse diagnostics. Double leaf under O and of and triple leaf under D. We've talked about some of those. Let's just keep going. All right, die combinations. We've got perfect starting, I would imagine, other than the cuts in the eye, which don't really show up well in these photos. We'll get that on some zooms for sure. Crack from cap across the top of lib. AME incused in front of the face. There it is from the clash mark. You see that? Right in front of her nose. Is an M. And then check out the clashing coming off of the chin. That's a really neat example. Let's just see if I can get that nice and close for you. Super cool. That's really, really neat. All right, let's flip the page. Okay. Crack rim just missing T. Yep. Which develops further, like mine. I would say that is about the state that mine is in. Neat. And I didn't pay much attention to the reverse, but talking about flow lining and things like that. And obverse X, too low grade to die state. That's interesting. Okay, and then the reverse has a crack going through the R in America. I think that's what they're calling us, or calling out for us. Let's look at our condition census examples. Looks like the top 3, interesting. The top 3 are from the Lord St. Oswald collection, which is also the case for Sheldon 69. These top 3 are also all Lord St. Oswald collection. So I'm gathering that when these coins were picked up and taken back to England, that they must have just gotten done striking the 1794s if he made out with 3 Sheldon 69s as well as a 71. Let's see if any 72s are St. Oswald. Does not appear so. Okay. So, top 3, we're calling MS 67, 60, and AU 55. And then we are down into XF 40 by the bottom of the first page. Look at that off-center strike. That's really neat. That's super neat. I was not familiar with this coin before. That's really cool. That's super cool. Like, this is me seeing it for the first time. Like, top 5 1794s, cool. Not quite as cool as the one I'm about to show you, though, from the Ford collection that sold recently for a boatload of money. Look at that double strike. It's a Sheldon 28 MS 62 choice. Yeah, that thing is sweet, and it just sold within the last 12 months for something north of $500,000, as I recall. Okay, moving on to the next page. We are from XFs down to a VF30. So there's quite a few of these in fairly high grade. But yeah, I guess I'm a little bit surprised that we're all the way down to a VF30 by number 12. So they're out there nice, but you know, if you want anything nicer than a Verifine, you're gonna be paying a lot of money. Let's jump into Chuck Heck's book on dye states, where we're gonna learn a little bit more about what dye state mine is in, I would say. Page 176. Okay. Sheldon 71, the pliqué, says Morris. Let's see. Note well, the new obverse die is always seen with 3 parallel cuts that miss Liberty's eye. One above, one below, and one across her eyeball. And then, of course, lots of clash marks. Look at the clash mark on her, like at her chin. This is a really neat variety. And to really appreciate it, you kind of do need it to be in high grade, which is tough because there's not a bunch of these that are in particularly high grade. Okay, dye state 1, clash marks. We got clash marks right out the gate. And that little crack down there. I've got a teenage daughter and she is just like talking at the top of her lungs downstairs. So if you hear that in the background, that's just because I'm a normal dude with kids. Reverse. Okay, it was already in, oh gosh, is this the one? I think, I'm going to say this and it's going to be dumb if it's not what it actually is, but I think this might be the example where they used the reverse die on 70, then on 71, and then went back to 70, but let's see. This die has already seen service and die state 1 of 70 is now paired with die state 71. Some subtle and obvious clash marks, and they're listed. The next die state for this reverse is the die state 2 of Sheldon 70, where the third cap clash is seen. So we're not actually going to see the second die state on a 71, it's back on the 70, and then we have the remarriage with S-71, which was die state 6 of S70. Wrap your head around that. Take as much time as you need. And then, so the second die state for the reverse actually happened with Sheldon 70, and it picks up some clash marks, and then it comes back to the 71, which continues to strike some more coins. Die state 3 obverse, more clashing, imparting one of the most spectacular displays on any obverse of all 1794 varieties. An incused impression of all letters of America can be seen in the first quadrant. See him right there? He's got them labeled. And then just clash marks everywhere. It's just phenomenal. Okay. Reverse, more clash marks. Die state 4, the strong crack develops between R and T, which appears to be what mine is. And die state 5. So the obverse, they don't have a high grade enough as example to really make anything out. We saw that in the previous book, in the noise book. The reverse has a controversial die state, appears to have a bisecting reverse crack through T in United, across the reverse through the R in America. You see that all right there? Very cool. Okay, comment from Chuck at the bottom. Let me just set this down and read it. Of all the 69 different varieties of 1794 cents, I find S70 and 71 the most perplexing. I look forward to future finds that will clear up this confusion. One additional factor needs to be mentioned. I superimposed the Dan Holmes S70 obverse onto the Dan Holmes S71 obverse. Face, neck, and bust lined up perfectly. Caps were very close but not a perfect match. The numerals and the date and letters and the legend were significantly off. He says he's convinced that the head punch is identical for both varieties, and this did not make for easy die stating. I think there is still some question about how much was hubbed. It was believed for a long time that no hubs were used on the early sets, but it's since been discovered that they absolutely were hubbed, but mostly just face details and part of the head, hair details engraved, and the face details touched up. But that is quite interesting. Okay. That is what we know about the Sheldon 71, a very interesting variety. And yeah, I wish mine was a little bit more diagnostic. I can't quite make out the cuts through the eye. I definitely do see that crack between T and Y. As far as Liberty, that's tough to see as well. Maybe I'll take a little bit closer look, a little bit brighter light, and then I'll show you guys some photos once I've identified what I can see here. Yeah, that crack between R and T is very cool. Yeah, there is most certainly remnants of a light crack through Liberty, but kind of obscured just by the little bit of environmental damage that this coin does have. Eyes. Yeah, if you know what you're looking for, you can sort of make out little bits of those cuts. And then on the reverse, I guess, since we just learned that there is a crack that forms across the reverse, which is apparently very rare. And I'm not seeing any evidence of that on mine. Oh, this one has big club-looking stems. Let me pull out a photo to show that off, because you're not going to see that on my coin very easily. One of my quick diagnostics, because 71 and 70 share a reverse, and 71 and 67 are extremely difficult to tell apart. One quick giveaway is look at how those stems are shaped like baseball bats. You kind of see that? I think that's a good quick tell, since 67 is so incredibly similar, but its stems are, you know, a little more uniform in terms of width, whereas the reverse here, we have those baseball bat shaped, and again, that's sort of accentuated. You can see it really well in this photo. Okay, thanks for checking this one out with me, y'all. Preston, thanks for requesting it. I had fun making this one and learning a little bit more about my Sheldon 71 as well. So that was a lot of fun. I'll make sure and show you guys some photos of the blundered edge lettering on that one. And of the die cracks on that one, and then feel free to hit me up in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.